fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
They say, how strong is your field when you talk about how good a championship is? Well, you cannot look any better at the moment than what we've got. Almost hitting the 8K region. Qualifying is underway here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the road course, here for what is going to be your Porsche iRacing Cup, your Porsche Esports Supercup qualifiers, heading itself into the famed American belt of motor racing. It's the home of NASCAR at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we are live and uninterrupted on the iRacing Esports Network, brought to you by SimSpeed TV. And a good morning, good evening, and a good afternoon to everyone watching around the world. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary box, joined alongside by Brenton O'Brien here alongside. And Brenton, you have to talk about this track. It is a path of least resistance track. It is all about minimizing every single part of every single corner to get the maximum out of things such as the banking out here on this track.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all. I reckon this is one of those weeks, we're in round 3 now of this qualifying series. This is one of those weeks where it's damage limitation. Just get yourself through this, get the maximum amount of points on the board. There's just danger everywhere. You make a mistake, you'll find a concrete wall. Get yourself through this week and get on with racing next week.
Exactly. Jonas Vollmeyer, fastest at the moment, 117.5. The best at the moment as Matty Sawyer jumps up into 8th place. But let's talk championships just for a second. Back-to-back victories for Mac Backham have been right on it at the moment. They have been at the top of the standings, have Coanda. It's been 1-2 with Ricky Castro-Lado alongside. But as we all know, sometimes it's not quite that easy around the track. Drivers like Gianni Vecchio will be trying to get in. Johan Haaf, not quite good enough to get into top split, but he'll be looking to attack the second split here today to get things going. The likes of Christopher Danbeats, Alexander Thieb, Alex Arana, they'll all be there. They'll all be chasing up here, Brenton.
Well, they will be, won't they? I mean, Walmart at the moment on provisional pole, just the 3/100ths ahead of Alexander Thieb. Mac Backham, obviously extremely strong, leading the championship coming into this round in 3rd. And Peter Berman, who we know from Apex Racing UK, can't compete in the Pro Series next year at the moment in 4th position. But look how ridiculously tight this qualifying session is at the moment with just a couple of minutes to go.
The top 15 are split by 0.7 of a second. That tells you all you need to know at the moment. With a minute and a half to go, drivers like Marc Perez are out there on their second laps, heading through the modified chicane that they have here. They've pretty much made it a lot slower, a lot tighter from what it was originally here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's making his way in the MSI eSports car through the bank turns 3 and 4 of NASCAR and then into this final chicane, this very, very tricky final chicane, using all of the curb on the exit right up to the wall, and a lap doesn't count for Marc Perez. He's clipped the wall somewhere and got himself a 1 instant point. Here's Josh Anderson, though, in the number 13 Altus Esports car through the final couple of corners. He's got 1 lap, but he won't have time to set it. 18 flats only for him is 11th place overall. You feel like someone like Anderson needed that extra lap to really get things going here today, Brenton.
Yeah, absolutely. That second lap, especially with this tyre, is so vital. Generally, the second lap's being quicker than the first. And Ricardo Castroleto, we are running out of time here. Still hasn't put a time on my card.
Won't.
The car number 6.
He absolutely won't set a time because he's on his third lap, technically. So Ricardo Castroleto is going to have to play the toughest game in the world. He will start from 20th position on the grid. Behind him, the only driver will be there will be Alexander Wolters, who will be alongside, as Peter Berryman, leaving it very, very late here for his last lap, has 10 seconds. And I don't think he's going to get there in time. He's got himself 5 seconds to get himself his lap over the line, through the right, through the left. 59, and has he just made it? No, he hasn't, so that won't count. But this is how the grid's going to stack. So it will be Jonas Vollmeyer on the pole position, Alexander Thebe alongside him. Mac Backham, championship leader, starts from third with Peter Berryman in fourth position. Fifth will be Mark Perez with Ivo Howler in sixth place. Thibaut Kausabon will start seventh with Matti Kaider-Sawyer in eighth. Kim Eriksson goes from ninth, and Jeff Giassi rounds out the top 10.
Josh Anderson from 11th, Gianni Vecchio, Alexander Laritzin, Georges Pashas, and Carly Jensen, Joni Takanen, Sindre Setsas, Alex Arana, Yalvas. And then watch out for Ricardo Castroleto from 20th. This is not the track that you want to be starting at the back with Alexander Wolters.
And this is also not the track you want to be starting at the back for another reason. That reason being that this track, of course, being a NASCAR layout, is definitely not built for the gridding up procedure. You can see how drivers are going to have to funnel themselves through the final chicanes. No grid stalls available on this grid, so they're roughly lining themselves up in a close fashion, which is always going to be tough as it possibly can be. They've got 2 minutes to get themselves up onto the grid, or they start from that dreaded place known as pit road, and that may not actually be a bad thing here today, knowing how it is a very tight left to get yourself out onto track, and drama could be very, very quick around a track so nimble, so tight, so narrow at places that this is. Very much a few similarities to where we were 1 week ago at the Motor City Detroit Belle Isle, but these drivers know that it doesn't matter what track they race at, they know they have to be at their very level best to get things going. It's 5:15 in the afternoon for green flag times. Air temp 85 degrees Fahrenheit and a blustery wind as well will not be helping out proceedings. The last of the drivers waiting to get themselves up on the starting grid, just waiting for one driver as they look to try and get themselves ready and waiting. The green flag procedure about to start. Engine notes rise, and there is the green. There is the go. It's a tough start to the front, and Vollmeyer's already struggled. Backham's going to go straight for the inside here at turn one. Thebe's got to try and cover it. Pure have had a horrible start. Thebe runs wide. Vollmeyer will try and get in. Eriksson spins in the background as they go through. They manage to keep it all out of trouble together. No! They don't to the front. Huge incident at the front. 4 cars involved. Kausavon flips over on his roof. 5, 6, another Koanda car gets caught up. A massive incident to start.
And that all started up the front there, the 2 PRT cars just got a little bit sideways
wow.
from each other, and that is an absolute dog's breakfast there. There's cars scattered everywhere. And for cars like Ricardo Castroleto, he missed all of that, so he has got himself exactly where he needs to be, considering where he was.
Well, there's rule 1 of sim racing. You never hit your teammate, and there will be strong words between Thebe and Vollmeyer on how they have messed this up, because they've also caught out of this race Ivo Howler as well. A massive change. Here's the battle. Alexander Laritzin trying to get around the outside of Gianni Vecchio here, but has he got the brakes? No, he doesn't. He goes straight on and across here at the chicane. He misses everyone, and he's lucky he's not hit the safer barriers, and he gets away with it for the moment, but at the cost of so many positions here out on track. Backham leads, Berryman second, Mark Perez in third, then it's Kaider-Sawyer fourth, and Jeff Giassi makes it fifth for Positive Sim Racing. A massive start to this event.
An incredible start by Mac Backham, and just showing so much experience on the start line. Like, we have concerns with the standing start on the road, there's no secret there, but his getaway was outstanding. But then for the 2 PRT guys to just trip over themselves, just giving this, not so much the series, but certainly making this race so much easier for everybody else involved.
I didn't know Pure Racing Team gave out late Christmas presents, but there you go. Backham under pressure, though, at the front. Berryman very much keeping through the infield section around this part, and this is the corner that is the big opener. If you can get it nice and narrow through here, you don't have to stick to the blue lines here. You have to just make sure that you are absolutely on it, and then you're right down onto that apron line and trying to work yourself a way to go through. Vecchio under pressure this time, now from Carl Janssen right now here in the core sim racing car. Looking to go to the outside again. Vecchio very good at covering. He wasn't happy earlier in the week when he had contact down at this corner, so he tries to cover it off again. Nice and neat, nice and narrow, but look at this. Open up and exit wide, don't you? And you can use all of that there down on the inside to try and cover. A little bit naughty from Vecchio, but any rule's a rule, and very much, if you're not going to be penalised for it in official racing, you may as well use it.
This is going to be a real quick race, isn't it? Carl Janssen from 15th on the grid already up to 7th. Jan Vecchio 12th on the grid up into...
Well, there's the mistake. Yep, just running wide through the chicane, and Vecchio has to give it up here to Janssen. It's just like that, Brenton, it can happen. Those curves, very difficult to deal with the car balance.
And these are the races where guys like Josh Anderson have to really capitalise. There's been a bit of carnage in front. He's got himself into a really strong position, 8th. And we're talking about in a race where the strength of field is around 8,000. The points on offer here will be substantial, so you've got to cash in tonight.
You absolutely do. The points will be huge. iRacing calculates their points for this championship based on the strength of field. That is determined by your iRating and how much you have been winning against other fields, against other drivers. You start with 1350, for example. There are only 2 drivers in the world of this racing on the roadside who are over 10,000. To have an SOF of 10k is huge as Vaz gets put under pressure. Here's Alexander Larritzen on the recovery down the inside. Can he get the move sorted? Yes, he can. And over the curb goes Vaz, and Ricky Castroledo gives him a bit of help to get himself around. Alexander Volters trying to find himself a way through. He flashes the headlights and says, not cool, man, not cool. AAA Esports, more suited to other areas, shall we say, in the sim racing sphere, trying to get a good run, but Volters ultimately unable to get that move done just now.
No, but again, it's any improvement that they've made already. Like, so Volters has come from 21st on the grid to 13th. If you offered that him on lap 4 that you'll be up in 13th, he'll take it no matter what's going to happen. There's still a lot of racing to go, but this race will disappear real quick.
It certainly will. You talk about this. There's 4 retirements in this field. Alex Arana, Thibaut Calzabon, Pascalis Regis, and also Ivo Howler as well. The 4 who have not managed to make it over the opening couple of laps. Takinen at the back in 17th. He's 9 seconds off anyone else. Vaz off the pace as well. Front 3, though, starting to stretch out a little bit. Backham, Berryman, and Mark Perez. And Perez is at danger at this point to being a man on his own, on an island, in 3rd place. Remember, it doesn't matter if you win this series. All you have to be is inside the top 20, and Mark Perez is playing the Alain Prost game perfectly. In 3rd position, it's a huge haul of points. He can keep himself inside the top 3 in the championship.
Yeah, I'd like to be on an island in this race, in this track as well, because there's safety by yourself. Volters has made a mistake.
Yep, he has. It's down at the chicane, which is always the difficult part. He did it all on his own. Replay up on screen of the AAA Esports car. Gets himself heavy over the curb. And when he's trying to get that weight transfer through to turn right through that section, there is no traction left in that vehicle. It turns around, and Brenton, it's all about car balance over these high anti-cut curb chicanes. Every driver tries to be aggressive in this Porsche, but sometimes you just have to respect this circuit.
Well, as Mark Scape would say, it's a risk versus reward, isn't it? And sometimes you want to try and cash in, get that little bit extra, give yourself that bit of runoff, give yourself that opportunity to attack. But, you know, you do a little mistake like that, and look how much he's costing.
It's cost him quite a bit. He now drops himself behind Joni Takinen. He's back down to 17th position. That's not exactly what he wanted. Middle pack, though, at the moment. And we're talking about this very strongly. Ericsson, Vollmeyer, Anderson, Vecchio and Janssen trying to break away from this over the course of this racing. But you see drivers who need to try and find themselves enough to keep themselves going forward. Look at Vecchio here. His tyres started to get up to temperature. He's wanting to find a way by, and at the moment, he's just not got that at the moment. He's close, but I don't think he's going to be close enough into that final chicane. They're going to try and look maybe at trying to bring that gap down under a couple of tenths of a second. You can see them using all of that AstroTurf, that artificial grass on the outside to make sure they're using all of the track possible. This is very much a very relaxed track limit circuit. Not surprising here when it comes to a Roval like this. The old Charlotte Roval was also very lax on its track limits, so drivers have themselves an emphasis on the track.
And we've also had another retirement, Alexander Volters. Obviously sustains a bit of damage there, maybe the undertrade, because he's had another off, maybe some hardware failure. It was an unusual off for him. Just went straight line and he's out of the race. And Vecchio with the fastest lap of the race, so it's all coming together for him.
It absolutely is. Look at Kim Eriksson, though. He's wanting to get by Jonas Vollmeyer quickly. Vollmeyer very wide through this section, but he can open up onto the banking, and he gains himself a car length and a half by doing so under the floodlights here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So they start bringing this all back together, trying to make sure that this race comes back into favour. Eriksson on the brakes into the chicane. Again, not close enough to make the move on Jonas Vollmeyer, the pole sitter here today. But again, struggling a little bit out of the exit there. Almost close to the wall there was Vollmeyer, and suddenly Eriksson picks himself up in the tow, heads through 3 and 4, and it is going to be defended on that inside overspeed for the Black Star Racing car. They'll have to fight this one on the outside to get it done. This is not a corner you want to go too wide through. And just like that, well defended, there's the mistake. And suddenly, a little bit of contact trying to defend here from Alexander Larritzen, trying to dive down the inside. There's a bit of contact, and they're going to go around. Larritzen's going to spin, and Castro Lado just about gets away without any dramas.
I'm not sure why these guys need to be doing this. There's a massive strength of field. There's massive points. This is the race they could use. We capitalise and get the points over and done with. Move on to next week. This is the first of 2 Rovals. There's another one in Daytona in a couple of weeks, and what we're seeing tonight is not what we'll be needing to see in a couple of weeks. So these guys really need to just cash in, make the most of their opportunity, and they are just not doing it.
Yeah, they're certainly not doing it at the moment. And look at Gianni Vecchio once again. He's close, but the whole group they've got 18-2s, 18-3s. They're chasing down Jeff Giassi at the moment for 5th place, and also Matti Sawyer there in the Vendaval car for what is 4th. So that's what they're going to want. Vecchio, big slide coming out of the chicane in the middle part of the corner. He's done well to keep himself out of trouble there at the front. It remains the top 3. Perez has done well. Keep himself in gap at this stage in that 1 second window. Those top 4 split by one, or top 3, sorry, split by 1.1 seconds at the moment at the front of the field. None of them in position to make those moves, but it's all about who is chasing who at this point in time. It's all about, can you get close enough to set yourself up the run for the move? That's what Janssen will want to do in the Core Sim Racing car. Giassi up next for him in 5th.
Let's talk about tyre wear as well. It takes a few laps for these tyres to get in, and then the drop-off stops. So we're in lap 8 now with Gianvecchio, etc. His lap times are on lap 5 at 1:18, 1:99, fast enough for the race, but he's already 4/10 off of that, and we only talking about 2 laps. So let's just keep an eye on the tyre wear. You know, such a tough place to pass, there's no doubt about that. But those who can hang on to their tyres have such an advantage at the end.
And you have to also talk about this as well here, Brent, and the fact that because it is an oval, there will be certain parts of the tyre which will be extended and used up a lot more than others because of the fact they're having to deal with that parabolic banking.
Oh, absolutely. So your right-hand tyres will just be suffering the pressure on them, and the tyre temp will be through the roof. It's just how you can maintain that. Obviously, your spring settings to a point could control that, but you know, the experienced guys are just knocking over the laps here, just getting it over and done with, trying to stay out of trouble. But the carnage from behind is just, it's not what we're after tonight in this race. But those up front, they'll do really well out of this week, and they'll look back and say, let's get on with next week.
They certainly will say, let's get on with it. And that is what everyone's doing. Backham again loses himself almost 1/10 of a second to Peter Perryman. He's not fighting this race in terms of looking for Porsche qualification. He's fighting this for pride and saying, well, this is what I could have done if I had participated in all of the races of Porsche Esports Supercup. Heads himself through turn 7 onto turn 8, and now onto the banking once again through NASCAR 1 and 2. They come along as they look to try and get themselves on the power once again, and ultimately it is still a case of the waiting game. It is still a case of stay within that margin. Matt Backham doing as he did 1 week ago at Belle Isle. Manage the pace at the front of the field. Manage my tyres. I don't need to push too hard. I will just make sure that I will keep drivers out of my range. Remember, these two fought in the opening round of the championship, Backham and Berryman. It was Berryman who crashed out coming out of the Dottinger Herb, so you will want to forego any mistakes that happen like this again. You will have to play the patience game, though, on Backham.
Yeah, you will. Berryman's got a lot of experience. Obviously, took the greater majority of 2019 off after qualifying for the Pro Series, so that it doesn't get him into next year. But it's really, really good to see Pete back. Driver of very, very good experience. Great to talk to. Good guy to be around. So it's great to see him back involved with the Apex Racing team, and he will make that team stronger when the Pro Series is back on in 2020, no doubt at all.
Absolutely, and well, we'll see how this one all plays out for him. Still Gianni Vecchio not close enough to Carl Janssen at the moment. We were talking as well about the big story. Ricardo Castroledo starting from the back of the field. He's in 11th place right now, stuck behind Kim Eriksson and Jonas Vollmeyer. So he's thinking about a top 10, 10th, 9th position. Those will be some crucial points. Those will be 20, 30 points. He'll be gaining for every position he will manage to make. So they hit the brakes at the front of the field, head themselves through the chicane once again. And once again, no issues for the front three at the moment. But you start thinking about, well, who's going to make those moves? And I just caught a look at Vecchio. He was almost just tapping the rear of Carl Janssen's core sim racing machine. The Pure Man wants to make some moves.
Yeah, he really does, and he's the leading Pure Man as well, considering he was the third or fourth on the grid from that team. But Vollmeyer's down on straight line speed. He's obviously that contact on lap 1 at turn 1 has certainly affected his straight line, and he'll continue to be attacked with Eriksson and Lado behind. And if Lado gets through Eriksson, which I'm thinking he possibly will, watch out for a serious attack from Lado on Vollmeyer.
Well, watch out for those attacks. Look at Vollmeyer wide through turn 1. And through turn 2, Eriksson closes up that gap. Will he dare look at turn 3? It's a very difficult one to get right at the Bank of America corner. Vollmeyer runs wide. Eriksson looks for the nose down the inside. Now they start holding each other up here as they look to try and get some form of overlap in towards these next sections. Eriksson down the inside. It's off camber through here. And that's going to be difficult here on the outside for Vollmeyer, who has to give up the position. Or will he have a look down the inside at the next left? No, he will not. So position changed. Eriksson gets through. Ricky Castroledo will have to get through next, and he will have to get through very, very quickly if he can. Berryman right up close to Matt Backham as well. Closest it's been all race.
Yeah, this is on now, isn't it? We've got, 10 laps to go, lap 11 of 20, so 9.5, 10 laps to go, and it's closing up everywhere at the moment. And Backham has come back to Berryman quite a bit, hasn't he? So Berryman really coming hard at him now as they go over that last chicane, across the strike again. So on the beginning of lap 12, Backham with it at 1:18.642, Berryman a whole tenth of a second quicker.
That tells you all you need to know. Peter Berryman is not waiting around. He wants to make that move. He wants to get up to the race lead quickly. He wants to take points away from Matt Backham, make this race just a little bit more easier for a few other drivers. No overtakes going through that lap after what we had seen. But look at Peter Berryman right now, harassing the back of Matt Backham through the infield, heading through the left right now, and then onto the oval banking. They come along and try and get it right. Yes, you do. But again, being just behind, there is that small wake, that dirty air effect, not as much as an open wheeler, but still enough, which says I'm going to drop back ever so slightly, and it is just that amount, which is giving Matt Backham the opportunity to defend into this chicane.
Berryman's got nothing to lose, though, has he? Like, he's not going to qualify for the Pro Series. We know that. So he probably will stick his nose in there and have a go. So if you're Matt Backham, that has to be taken into account. What has Berryman got to lose here? Nothing.
Here comes Castroledo. Around the outside, trying to get it done. He's got the inside for the next section. They're holding each other up here, Vollmeyer and Castroledo. Castroledo pinches the man to the inside, but onto the oval they come along. And again, not quite there. Leaders on, though. Here's Matt Backham under pressure. Berryman's got the race lead. He's done it down the inside. Got a great run out to the final chicane. Backham had to be careful of the wall on the outside. Berryman took advantage down the inside. Apex have the race lead.
Yeah, great stuff by Pete Berryman, and I reckon he'll drive away with it now. He's been conserving his tyres. It just looks like he's just got that little bit of extra pace, and I don't want to put the kiss of death on him, but it's not just Berryman that's got through. Perez is all over the back of Backham as well.
And that's the worry here, because Marc Perez is a title rival, is close, and will want to try and make that position as quickly as he can. He's been the one in the catbird seat. He's been waiting for this opportunity. He's been idolising these two drivers in front and saying, well, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to wait for the right time to strike, as he heads through the chicane, looking to try and get an opportunity back and good and strong through this chicane. I'm not sure that this race is going to be over and done with between them. Giassi, though, keep an eye on him in 5th place as well. Janssen has caught the back of him, but not enough to get into an attacking opportunity. Side by side again, Castrolado and Vollmeyer. And again, Castrolado leaves all the room in the world. He left an acre there for Vollmeyer to go and exploit.
Vollmeyer under some serious attack. That front left damage is certainly hampering his efforts here. But he's not. Lado's not going to be able to drive around the outside, I wouldn't think. Oh, it's a great effort here into the last chicane. It's good driving here. Nice and... Oh,
no. Oh, it's caught the next one as well.
No.
Castrolado caught in a massive accident, along with one other driver out there. That was a horrible, horrible incident. I think it was Sindre Setsource there, the Norwegian. He's caught with that, so a huge accident. And Ricardo Castrolado all of a sudden is now relying on his 2nd and his 3rd result, so to speak, for the week, to try and get himself the points. Not the end of the world, but it is a huge opportunity blown.
Yeah, look, that certainly didn't... If you look at the replay there was a bit of gap between those two cars, has to be said. So really, really unlucky there. But, it's one of those things. It's like any car has a breakdown in any race. These things happen. But for Castrolado, was just driving superbly well to get through that field. Had avoided everything and then got tripped over there. Like you said, he has to rely on other results now.
Certainly does, and he knows that he's got 4 drop weeks. This may just be one of the 4 that he goes out there and uses, which will hurt him in terms of the way that he runs. There are other splits that go on as well. 2nd split, 3rd split, they'll all be scoring big points as well. Expect drivers who are in those to find themselves with great opportunities as well. You just have to talk about those drivers who maybe have this chance to score big points now, or may have to rely on results. For example, last night's racing, they may have to get that in terms of that strong split they had over there. That's the difference maker of this sort of series. Some drivers may just qualify without ever seeing a broadcasted race. That is sometimes the way that things go with this qualifying system, Brenton.
Well, he was 38 points off of the lead coming into this round behind Mac Backham. So, looking where Backham is, looking at the strength of field here, that's almost fatal when it comes to this series. Yes, you can get drop rounds, but I think Castrolado's already had 1 race, maybe 2 races this week already. So, with the drop rounds, we understand that, but it's like anything with the pro qualifying series. We've done it with the GTE class as well. Sorry, GT3 and GT classes, where the longer the series goes, some of the guys start to drop off and the points lesser. So you've got to cash in early for these series.
You absolutely do. As Marc Perez gets close, he lifts early though against Matt Backham. A lot later on the brakes, he was the Coanda man as he tried to get through. 5 laps remain here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. This race has flown on by. It's on for 2nd position. It is also very much now a change of position. Gianni Vecchio through on Carl Janssen. Got it done all the way at the chicane. He got himself down to the inside. It was a late lunge, but Vecchio made it look so easy.
Yeah, it really did. But look, Marc Perez now. He's all over the back of Mac Backham. Backham is definitely holding him up here. Perez doesn't need to get through, but he's as keen as, and it's just making life so much easier for Pete Berryman. He's got that out for almost a 2nd lead now as they just come across the end of lap 16 short.
Yeah, and this is going to be where the big key is. We have seen a change of position. Takkanen has got by Alexander Lauritsen, that one for 13th place. But here comes Marc Perez. Thinks better of it into this chicane. He'll rather have a run off of the exit here. Nice and nimble, nice and narrow. Open out the corner as much as you can. Use the draft. Get yourself into position. And once again, it is a case to be made where Marc Perez tries to close that gap, but ultimately cannot get himself there at the moment on the brakes. into the right-left chicane. They've got to the final couple of corners. No, not there just yet, but Matt Backham has been weak through that section. If there is any place to exploit, it is that through towards turn 1. Replay up on screen, brought to you by Motum Simulations. This is the move that we had just seen right there on track. So this is Vecchio versus Janssen, and that's Vecchio running very wide, having to try and gather everything back up, and because he hasn't got the power back down, and there is Janssen comfortably making the move there, Brenton.
And what that's also done is for Jassy, the car 18, that's just given him that breathing room, hasn't it? Like, he was just starting to get pegged back, get pegged back, but now he's got that little gap. We're in lap 17 of 20. You wouldn't think they'd catch him unless there'd be a mistake made.
Well, it's always about mistakes. If you make the mistakes, you're always going to have yourself a tougher time. Vormeyer's just hit the inside wall, heading through turn number 7, I do believe it is. Heading through the right-hander. He's got it all shades of wrong as he's tried to go through. He's on his own, which is the good news, but it'll be damage limitation. The cars that started first and second today here, Brenton, are 10th and 11th. That is the big story.
Yeah, it really is, and it's not the first time it's happened either in a pro qualifying series. Has to be said, like it did happen. Certainly, I think earlier this year, Silverstone rings a bell. So, yeah, these guys need to start getting their act together. They need to start talking a bit more. They've obviously got the car pace, qualified first and second, and even with the carnage around them, they're still only 10th and 11th. Yeah, their debriefing would be great to be a fly on the wall catching the info from this one.
Oh, absolutely it would. And you talk about drivers who are in that stable of pure racing team drivers. You've got Maximilian Benecke, arguably one of sim racing's greats at the moment, and he'll be looking at this team going, well, what on earth has just happened? That was a shambles for what we wanted. Still, though, it is good for Marc Perez in 3rd place. He is still looking to try and get himself through on Matt Backham. He's got 2.5 laps to get it done, but he has not been in a position to make a decisive move. As behind, yes, it is all very, very twitchy. That was Vecchio there, losing so much time. I think he may have clipped the wall.
I reckon he's clipped the wall there. I'm pretty sure
he
has. Yeah, and look at Josh Anderson. It's actually given him a really good run here. So I can't see too much damage on Anderson car. He's actually kept that really clean so far in the Logitech G Altus Esports car, so it's a fantastic effort for him, and he's just going to drive straight by him.
He is, and I think Gianni Vecchio knows he's down on straight line. I'll let you have it here, Mr. Anderson, and he'll be happy with that one. Will the Altus Esports driver on the brakes into the final chicane? No worries at all. 2 laps to go. Marc Perez looking to try and get points maxima here as he tries to get himself around Matt Backham. If he can, then he will try to at the moment. Other drivers have scored big points in their racing this week. We'll see how this one all plays out for Mark as he tries to get himself close enough. But that big equaliser at the moment for Matt Backham has been Peter Perryman in the draft here, Brenton.
Yeah, it really has. He's actually been, it's been an unintentional ally, that's for sure. And we're talking for a strength of field around 8,000. I understand this is probably the biggest strength of field race in the history of iRacing. So Peter Berryman at the conclusion of this race will collect, I would believe, well over 400 points and will be a single race points record holder. Unless I'm wrong, but I reckon I'm pretty close to spot on there.
I reckon you are spot on there, Brenton, and it will be for the first time in a very long time, my friend. But you've got yourself a lap and a little bit to go. What can Marc Perez do to get past Coander's Matt Backham, who at the moment is flawless in broadcast races? But that could change with Peter Berryman here as the white flag will be taken here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is going to be a very big last lap then for Marc Perez. He's got to get it done. Not going to happen at turn 1, and this infield section is all about staying as close as you can. Just a car length between them as they head towards turn 3. On the brakes they go. MSI versus Coander. 4 comes up next. You try and just hold the line and keep the power down as much as you can. Up through the gears, 160, 180 kilometers an hour. Look how close Perez is. They head through this small kick right and then the off-camber right-hander, which is always very difficult. They're not going to use that infield section, the extended infield section, which uses a massive hairpin. They go straight up onto the oval then for the final time. Berryman stretching his legs away here from Matt Backham, and that's going to hurt because Perez is going to have a chance here on this lap. You can see how close he is. You know he wants to go out there and make a move. Does he do it at this chicane or does he do it at the last? Backham's defending as hard as he can. Here looks Perez. He's not going to get it this time, but has he overshot this one as Matt Backham? He's so good on the brakes, but he is a little wide getting himself through. Big extend from Mike Perez. He needs this run through the final corners. Backham cannot do anything to touch Peter Berryman in the Apex racing car. He is away completely, defended by Backham. Nowhere to go if you're Mark Perez on the brakes. Have you got it sorted? It is Peter Berryman who picks up the win. You're just short here, Mark. Backham gets second, Perez gets third. Kaida Sawyer will come home with Giassi there in 5th place. And you look further down the order, no battles going on, so to speak, but Peter Berryman was a cut above the rest.
Yeah, it really was. And congratulations to him and the Apex Racing team. It's a sensational win, a great result. And look at the, 1.2 seconds between first and second of the tight track. Had to work really hard to get that gap. Pushed really hard to get past Backham in the first place. But gee whiz, there's some great results for some drivers that would not expect to be up there.
No, you're absolutely right here. I was just looking at Alexander Thieb coming over the line. He spun it over the line to say, that's what I think of my race. It was awful in terms of how that one ran. But this is official classified results for you up on your screen. In 26 minutes and 21 seconds, Peter Berryman picks up the win. He started 4th, he got it. His margin of victory, 1.2 seconds come the end, over a Mac Backham, who will take maximum points for his championship, so to speak, as he's done very, very well. Mark Perez comes home in 3rd. He challenged every step of the way. He just wasn't able to get that working. Matty Kaida Sawyer, he finished off in 4th place with Jeff Giassi rounding out the top 5. Carl Janssen ended up with 6th place. He was hounded for most of the day. Josh Anderson picked up 7th ahead of a limping Gianni Vecchio, who got himself back to only 8th place. It was a poor day for the Pure Racing Team drivers. Kim Eriksson ended up in 9th, and after starting 2nd on the grid, it is Alexander Thieb who finishes this one in 10th.
Yeah, with Jonas Vollmeyer from the pole, like I said, whether it was an overreaction to Backham start, because Backham just had an unbelievably good getaway off the line, and the overreaction possibly by the 2 PRT guys, but they'll still be picking up the pieces long after this race. Joni Takinen in 12th. Alexander Ritson probably had a poor race, I would have to think. 13th on the grid, 13th on the finish line, but it was a race where he could have made so much more of his opportunities. And then from after that, we had a whole world of cars DNFing, including Vas. Set Sass we saw, Castrolato we saw, and Walters we saw going down to 17th. So, they'll still get some points, and, a messy race for those that didn't get there. But up the front, all congrats to Peter Berryman. A fantastic effort.
Exactly, the final few drivers, Howler, Kyrgyz, Kalzabon for AAA, and also Alex Arana running into troubles as well. That will be a big hurt for some drivers. It will be a big gain for others. And of course, you can catch all the action 1 week from now as well, because it is always going to be a strong race that we've got going on. Drivers who are coming in wanting to get themselves an interview are happening right about and now. And of course, Mac Backham always very much wants to join us here in the commentary booth. Mac, it's 2nd position. It's not a flawless start to the season that you would have been looking for, but ultimately, you can't argue when the driver who beats you can't beat you for any championship.
Well, I guess he, in theory, still can. I guess he can score enough points in the remaining rounds, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with 2nd today.
Well, you've got to be happy with 2nd. Let's talk about that start, though, first and foremost, because it was a very, very difficult start for you. You got the jump on Jonas Vollmeyer, you got yourself down the inside, and then Christmas came early as the 2 Pure cars came together.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise to see them that bad off the line. I was really happy to get P1 into the first turn, and then when I saw all the crashes behind me, I was like, all right, I'll take it. And then, Mark and Pete caught up pretty quickly on the opening laps. It was really slow on the opening laps, but we had a really big gap to P4 anyway. So, I didn't really drive too hard. I just wanted to get a top 3, and didn't have to worry about points in the remaining races.
Well, no worries about points, but you had to fight very hard come the end of the race. Marc Perez was giving you a run for your money, so let's just talk about that. You had the draft of Berryman in front to defend, but on that last lap, you didn't, so you really had to try and work out where was the right place to put the car, surely.
Yeah, that was really difficult. I mean, at the start of the race or during the race, I was just thinking, if someone wants to put a move on me, I'll let them have it. P1, 2, or 3, good enough points for me, but... yeah, then I guess on the final lap, I guess the racer comes out in you, and yeah, when it was really close, you just started driving defensive, which was really tough around here, I must say, because I haven't really practiced it either, so I wasn't really sure where to place the car, but I guess in the end it worked out fine, and to be honest, I think that Marc also didn't try it too hard in the final corner. I think he was pretty happy with where he was as well.
Well, new circuit next week. You head to the brand new Lime Rock Park with the very, very tough chicane up the hill where normally uphill corner would be. It seems like with that layout, there are maybe less places to go out there and really get the momentum for overtakes. Do you feel like it's going to be a qualifying-based race at Lime Rock?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think next week, probably who starts on pole or at least leads into turn 1 and leads safely is probably going to get the win there. I don't think you have any place to close up. Even here today, it was difficult, and the straights here are way longer, and you get much better rounds out of the corners here than you would on Lime Rock. So yeah, probably going to be close to Belle Isle and regarding to the number of overtakes.
Well, before we let you go, Max, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for a second place finish?
I want to thank my team, of course, and our partners. So that's Virtual Racing School, SimQuip, VTech, Antwerp Design, and yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast, of course. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for practicing with me this week. Also, Josh for doing some laps. That was really helpful. Yeah, hopefully we can continue the season with scoring some good points.
Well, Matt Backham there coming home with second position. But Brenton, final thoughts as we pack up here from what is North Carolina and we head ourselves over towards Connecticut.
Experience shone through. Those that wanted to get the job done got the job done. If you're in PRT, you're having long, hard conversations going, what the hell just happened? Got a couple of tricky rounds in front, Lime Rock and Daytona. You can't afford to make those mistakes again. They'll get it sorted eventually, but let's just hope for their sake it's not too late.
Well, they'll hope and they will pray and they will dream for better results than what they've just had, but they know they've got to wait for 1 week's time here on the iRacing Esports Network to head to Lime Rock Park. Make sure that you tune in and join us for that, as well as all the other action that happens here on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure that you keep yourself in good stead to watch all of the other sim racing broadcasters who put some brilliant stuff up here on this channel. But from Brenton O'Brien and Jay Kennedy, a massive thanks has to go to Motum Simulations as well, who have been on the replay for us today. I've been Jake Sperry, but Berryman will have himself his revenge for the Nordschleifer. He got what he wanted, and it was a big, big race victory. But you got to talk about the big stories. Pure absolutely had a meltdown here today. Their chances from what looked very promising went up in smoke, no higher than 8th place. Backham will be the one who will be happiest. His championship lead only manages to increase. We'll see you in a week's time at Lime Rock Park.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness! Half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?